Today's slideshow, I'm going to be talking about magic, occult properties, and occult philosophy. And this is the first slideshow that we're going to be having for this semester. And some of the ideas that are in this slideshow will be recurring throughout the rest of the semester. I'll start with the meaning of the word occult. The basic meanings of the word occult are hidden or secret, something that we simply do not see normally in the real world. And it doesn't have to be something supernatural. It doesn't have to be anything extraordinary. Occult literally, in its most basic meaning, just means hidden or secret. However, the word occult has come to mean something very specific in our more in the more modern meanings of the word. It is a word that's associated with alternative forms of spirituality or ideas about invisible or paranormal powers. And I'll just run through a few things that are often associated with the word occult. One term that is often associated with the occult is necromancy, and this is essentially the art of talking to spirits of the dead. Here you see an image of a seance in progress, and spiritualism is a system that attempts to establish contact with people who have departed the physical realm. But this is a very, very old practice, and it dates back to ancient times. Secret societies are often associated with the occult. Of course, the Illuminati are one of the really famous, it's one of the very famous terms that comes up. There's all kinds of legends around the Illuminati, and the idea of a secret society that has some kind of a large conspiracy and is kind of controlling the events of the world from behind the scene. So they seem to have an occult power, and nobody knows quite who they are. So this is a very popular occult legend. Witchcraft, of course, is associated with the occult. Anybody who has watched horror movies will often hear of the word occult thrown around in movies where there are witches as characters. Witches have secret powers, secret arts that enable them to do things that normal human beings would not to do, and that is the occult aspect of that art. Divination. I have a crystal ball here, but divination can be done with pendulums, tarot cards, runes, and divination is the art of getting information, usually about the future, from a tool such as a pendulum or a crystal ball or that sort of thing. You can also get other information through divination according to the legends. You can find out what people have done that they're hiding. You can find lost treasure. There's all kinds of things that you can do through divination. Invocation. This is an image of probably Dr. Faustus invoking the devil in the Christopher Marlowe play, Dr. Faustus. And the idea here is that there's an art called invocation whereby we can call up spirits, some of them evil, some of them divine, but invocation is also an occult art because it reveals beings to us that we would not normally encounter in everyday life. Alchemy is another occult art. Alchemy is the art of turning lead or other base metals into gold, and there's secret ways of doing this and specific rituals, and there are even spiritual elements associated with the minerals that people use to try to do this complex process. And again, those are secret arts, they're hidden arts, so they are occult arts. Ritual magic, any magic that is used to cause change in accordance with will. Ritual magic is, again, the rituals themselves are the occult aspect of the art. One has to learn how to conduct the magic rituals in order to make the changes that they want according to teachings about magic. Astrology really a form of divination in itself, but because it is so commonplace, astrology gets its own slot here. Astrology, the idea of getting information about the future, the past, about world events, about your own life events through observation of stars and planets and the way they move. This is also an occult art because you're finding hidden information, and you have to learn the occult arts of practicing astrology in order to do it. So all of these things that I just talked about, they have some things in common. Each of them are a method to obtain secret otherworldly knowledge. Some of them are methods to communicate with secret otherworldly beings or intelligences, and some of them simply offer secret otherworldly experiences to people. You know, some people are just seeking ways to alter their consciousness and seem to exist in a different realm of existence. So these are all occult realities or occult possibilities. Now, occult elements arise in theatrical storytelling all the time. Here are the three witches from Macbeth. And they are mystifying, fascinating, fantastical, and they seem to transcend human experience and knowledge. And that is why occult elements are so interesting in dramatic storytelling, be it live or be it in film. Some examples of some famous occult stories. One is Hamlet. Hamlet by Shakespeare. The entire story really gets going when Hamlet establishes communication with a ghost, which turns out to be the ghost of his father. And that ghost tells him that his uncle Claudius has, in fact, killed him, and this is what sets off the entire revenge of that story, the cycle of revenge. And then I already mentioned Dr. Faustus. This is a cover from the Christopher Marlowe play, Dr. Faustus, and you see he's invoking Mephistopheles here. And so this is a play in which a magician uses ritual powers in order to achieve knowledge and powers and pleasures that would otherwise be unachievable and unobtainable to him. So occult and magic, those two words are indelibly connected culturally. Every practice I've mentioned so far, necromancy, divination, astrology, ritual magic, they're all occult arts. And occult arts, unsurprisingly, can be referred to as secret arts or hidden arts. And throughout the centuries, occult arts and practices have been equated by some people with the term magic. So for some people, the term magic and the term occult can almost be used interchangeably. Medea, it's a 5th century play by the Greek tragedian Euripides, and it is a tale of magic. It's the tale of a woman from a faraway land who uses her expertise in occult properties to punish her husband Jason for betraying her. So we'll talk a little bit about this idea of occult properties or qualities. So occult properties are invisible, unknown powers of unknown origin that cause plants, minerals, animal parts, etc. to have the power to hurt or to heal humans, animals, crops, property, stuff like that. And in ancient Greece, there was a specialized type of sorceress who knew the proper rituals and ingredients to make the occult properties in these different elements into very dangerous mixtures that could be used to harm other people. This was a popular idea in ancient times, this idea of there being dangerous occult properties. And they're not all occult properties are dangerous, but people who, dangerous people, the idea of there being dangerous people who knew how to manipulate these occult properties, that idea was very, very common in ancient Greece. Even writing later, several hundred years later, Galen, who was a Greek physician and surgeon and philosopher who lived during the Roman Empire, he was writing in the 2nd and 3rd century Common Era. And he wrote a series of books on mixtures, and these talked about food, drugs, poison, things like that. And he wrote several essays that talked about these sorts of things. And among the substances that Galen talked about and the mixtures he talked about were foods. And food, according to Galen, was a substance that's assimilated into the body when it's eaten or if it's drank. And then there are beneficial drugs. And those are drugs that, when taken in small quantity, can be assimilated into the body of the human being. But sometimes they can be of good value to our bodies. Think of those as medicine. And then there's harmful drugs known as poison. And poison are drugs that harm living things. So Galen actually talked about Medea specifically when discussing poison. And his description of Medea's poison arts might not even sound like what you consider a poison in your time period. So in his writings, he said, among the types of poisons, there are those that undergo enormous change from their original nature as a result of a very small influence. And he also said about these kinds of poisons, Medea's poison was of this nature. With the introduction of heat, this sets light to anything onto which it is rubbed. It is prepared from a mixture of brimstone and wet asphalt. So Galen's explaining that Medea was an expert in the occult properties of minerals that could destroy human beings, and in particular, destroy human beings with fire or great heat. So the view on magic in ancient Greece wasn't much more positive than the view on magic in the Middle Ages, for instance. So in ancient Greece, the art of magic was viewed as from a wide array of perspectives, and some people viewed it with cautious belief. Very few people held it in high regard, and many people were actually repulsed by it, kind of a cultural revulsion towards magic. The ancient Greek word for magic refers to a magical practitioner who practices private rites. So magic is generally not viewed as a public practice so much as it's a private practice. And the word magique is also connected to the art of the magoi. So exactly what the magoi did, that is very diverse. Many different writers in ancient Greece described a lot of different things that they did. Some of the practices were practiced and passed down in what are called mystery cults, and these are small cults dedicated to worshiping and learning the secret powers and practice of a specific god or goddess. Some of the most common practices were binding spells. These were used to bind a human's fertility, crops, love, etc. Divination, we talked about that, the use of rituals to gain information about the future, lost items, etc. Wailers were necromancers. They were specialists for talking to the dead. And then analutes, these were unbinders. These were magicians who were experts in undoing those nasty binding spells. And then there was the Goetia. And this was a sorceress or a sorcerer who harms with magic. And among the types of Goetia that were there, one of the ones that was most common was called the pharmakoitria. And the pharmakoitria was a Goetia, a woman using herbs and drugs like Medea to harm others. And some of the Latin equivalents for this term are witch, beneficus, saga, maleficus, evildoer. And so Medea was the most famous legendary pharmakoitria of ancient Greece. Medea's legend is associated by some with the very origin of magic in ancient Greece. So Pindar, who was writing between the 6th and 5th century before Common Era, was a Theban lyric poet who wrote in his 4th Theban ode that Jason received from Aphrodite a frenzied bird, the speckled wryneck bound to a four-spoked wheel, and this charm set Medea's heart afire with love for Jason. And because of this magic that he was taught from a god, he was able to cast a binding spell on Medea so that she would love Jason. And this is why she betrayed her family and her father to help Jason acquire the Golden Fleece. And this is why she returned to Greece and had children with Jason. And it was there that Jason betrayed her. And this is the point where the play you're reading for this learning unit begins. She is gone with Jason. She's already betrayed everyone in her family. She's helped him get the golden fleece, and then she gets betrayed by him. And so the rest of the play Medea is how she responds to that. So magic and occult is almost always viewed as an outsider religion, an outsider form of spirituality. The earliest known records we have, they often view magic as something separate from the mainstream society or from orthodox religion and culture. And it's usually suggested, the outsider nature is often suggested by ideas such as magic is being passed down by non-human entities who are opposed to normal religion and teaching the secrets of magic to human beings. Or the idea that magic is brought from strangers, by strangers from an exotic, strange foreign land and being taught to people in another culture. So it's no surprise that in the play Medea, and in many other, and really all the legends about Medea in ancient Greece, that Medea is thought to have come from a foreign, barbaric place. So let's talk a little bit about this idea of occult philosophy, because this will become more important as we go forward in the semester. So in a few situations throughout history, people have tried to write treatises to revise the understanding of magic, to put it in a more positive light. And one of the first people to do this in the Renaissance era was Heinrich Cornelius Agrippa. And he wrote a 2-volume work called Occult Philosophy. And this is really the first piece of writing where the word occult is associated with magic in the modern era. So there's a dedicatory letter from Agrippa to Trithemius that was published at the beginning of occult philosophy. And in that letter, Agrippa changes the term magic to occult philosophy, and he distinguishes it from all the previous practices of magic that he associates with false philosophers who, calling themselves magicians, brought infamy on the term magic with false religion, cursed superstitions, wicked sacrilege out of orthodox religion, and practices causing the destruction of men. So, really, Agrippa is one of the first people to start trying to improve the reputation of magic. Later in life, he actually rejects it again. He recants everything he wrote about positive he says about magic in later years. But his mark's one of the first attempts to put it in a positive light. And the truth is that throughout history, people have perpetually tried to view magic in more positive light, and the occult in more positive light. And so you'll see throughout the semester that there is almost always one side of people who are pitted against anything that has to do with the occult and magic, and then there are other people who are struggling to promote the idea that there are good forms of the occult and magic. And in theater, in theatrical plays, you will see that there are some plays where witches are irredeemable bad people, and then there are plays where witches are misunderstood people who are really trying to do good things for people. And so that is where we'll leave it for now for this first learning unit. Go into the learning unit, read all the essays there, and do all the assignments that are associated with it. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. Thank you.